All right, Browns fans, Rufio here today. We're going to be taking a look at defending Lamar Jackson because this guy, man, he is a tough guy to defend. And I think he's such a unique guy in the NFL that it really does take some scheme investment to defend this guy. I don't think you can play him like any other quarterback. I think you have to put a few things in the playbook and play him a little bit differently than you would any other guy. All right, so I'm showing you all 22 here, and really I'm showing this to you to show you the structure of this defense, right? In the past couple of videos, I talked about Joe Woods' cover three spot dropping zone that we like to play, and this is the main structure of it, right? This is film actually from the Greg Williams era, but we still have that single high safety. This safety might be a little bit deeper in Greg's scheme than Joe's scheme, right? We had all those memes of, Jabril Peppers playing free safety on the moon and whatnot. But, point remains a single high safety. Because this, I think, is where a lot of teams start with Lamar Jackson and how they try to defend him. And I honestly got to question whether it's the right thing to do. So let's look at the play real quick as kind of fans, right? This is going to be a measly 2-3 yard gain, which is exactly what you want out of the Ravens. They're going to run some option. They're going to pull some players around. We're just going to make a boring tackle, right? And this is the kind of play you hope for and you pray for when you're playing the Ravens, because honestly, when you're watching as a fan, right, it just feels like you're on edge the whole time, right? I mean, you've got to ask your whole defensive line to pass rush a certain way and keep him in the pocket, right? Because as soon as he breaks out on the edge, you're holding your breath. You know something bad's going to happen. You got to ask your entire defense to hold up, right? Because one little crack, one little seam, and Lamar or J.K. Dobbins, somebody on that team is going to squirt through that gap, and they're going to make a big play, right? And so you're committing all these resources forward, and you feel like if just any one guy on our team screws up, that we're totally screwed, right? And they're going to get 20 yards, big chunk play, and then we're going to get into like a 40-40 shootout with them. All right. So, again, this cover three structure, back to the scheme, this cover three structure, right, I think is the way that most teams start to try to defend that. We're also going to see this motion and something else the Ravens try to do, which is, if your game plan is kind of relying on that, just nobody screws up, right? If we just all kind of hold our ground and create like a cup, right, and don't let anybody through, create a wall, and don't let any runners through, right? It should be easy to stop the run. The Ravens make that difficult on you, right? Because they'll spread the field. First of all, they'll bring a million fullbacks and tight ends, and you never know if those tight ends are going to be split wide and like passing looks, or if they're going to be, in the backfield, if they're going to be on the same side of the formation. Are they going to bring a bunch of wide receivers in and also bring like an extra offensive lineman? They got all these personnel packages, right? It's hard to understand what they might want to do. And then when they bring those players on the field, a lot of times they'll do stuff like this, where they'll bring this wide receiver around. They're going to bring him in kind of that orbit motion back behind the QB, right? And so they're pulling your attention this way. And then they're going to pull two linemen, not one lineman, but two linemen around, and they're going to kind of pull your attention back this way. So this kind of splitting action or sending blockers in different directions, right? Trying to disorient you and trying to make it harder for that kind of do your job mantra and just kind of build a wall mantra, right? They're moving guys around and they're shifting gaps and where you have to be as a defense, how you have to sift all those pieces out very, very quickly from like literally now until now, right? Like that's a second of game time. You have to do all these calculations in your head about where to be. It's tough, right? So, and that's exactly why they're doing it, because they want you to screw up that one time, and as soon as you do, they're gone. They're in the end zone, and one of the best athletes on earth has got the ball in the open field. All right, so let's move to the end zone angle here and look a little bit at not really how this play happened, but just theoretically, how do you defend Lamar, right? How do you defend this option running game? So from this angle, we can see that quote-unquote extra guy in the box, right? Anytime we have that single high safety, right, with the safety in the middle of the field, where's the other safety? Well, we've put him up in the box as the extra guy in the box. And you hear this from announcers all the time on the TV, even, guys who played, who should know better, who study this game, I honestly think. They'll say, oh, yeah, they need to put an extra guy in the box, right? We've got him. He's up here in the box, but that's not enough, and I'm going to show you why. All right, with one extra guy in the box, okay, we've got 7 in your picture. There are 7 Cleveland Browns here. We'll maybe count them or put something on them in post. But Basically, we got a Cleveland Brown for every gap. So he's outside there, inside there, in there. You can have this kind of front side A, backside A. We got B here and C outside, right? So we got a dude for every gap that the offense can present us. And when you have a normal quarterback, right, who is not going to run the ball, and we have 6 blockers, and we've got 7 guys, well, they can block 6 of our guys, and one of them is left, right? Simple arithmetic. One of them is left to tackle that ball carrier. Well, that's great until or unless the other team is willing to run this quarterback. Because now, if we bring the quote unquote extra guy in the box, right? Here's 26, here's that safety. Well, that's not enough because now they got 6 guys to block. They can option one more guy, that's 7, and we only have 7. So if they can account for every guy in our defensive front, we don't have anybody left to tackle the ball carrier, right? And in fact, on this play, we can imagine, let's imagine just all the Ravens block here, 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 we block here, we're blocking here, and we're blocking here, right? They got a dude for every dude except for Mack Wilson. And let's say Lamar just options Mack Wilson. Running backs going to our left here. Mack Wilson goes with the running back to the left. Lamar keeps the ball, goes right. Lamar's gone, right? And we have nobody left to tackle him. So what you need to do as a defense, if you're facing a running quarterback, to truly stop the run, is to bring an extra guy into the box. That's 2 extras into the box to stop the run, because that's the only way with this running quarterback that the arithmetic is in your favor. So we've seen Joe Woods play a lot of this cover 3 spot dropping zone, and while that's great and there are strengths to it, this is really not the game for it in most situations, because even with the extra guy, right, even with the extra safety, we are now relying on our defensive front to be superhuman to make a play, right? It's not just one guy, as we'll see on this play, not just one guy has to beat their block, but the right guy in the right spot has to beat his block, or just everybody has got to beat their blocks. And I'll tell you right now, if we're relying on every member of the front 7 to beat every block every time, it's just not going to happen, right? That is not a formula for success. Now, furthermore, if and when we're able to beat blocks up front, I want a reward for that, right? As a Browns fan, I don't want that to result in like a pretty decent 4-yard stop. If we're going to completely like blow up a lineman or make a big play as a defensive front, that should be a TFL, right? That should be a sack. That should be a big play. That shouldn't be, the other team staying on schedule and getting into a 2nd and 6 or a 3rd and 2. That is not how that should go. All right, so in order for that to be the game plan, you really do need 2 extra guys in the box. So, let's take a look at this play and how it worked on this play, especially with all the crisscrossing and stuff. Things get confusing. And I think the Browns did a pretty good job here of actually sifting through that. But we still really got lucky that we're able to make this play. And I'll show you why. All right, so on the snap of the ball, again, we're going to have that wide receiver in orbit motion. And we see Terrence Mitchell here, who was in man coverage with that wideout, and he's following, right? So we take that wideout away with a corner, right? And even in the running game, right? If this becomes, and it is a triple option, so if Lamar pulls his ball here, it keeps it, and then runs that kind of speed option, that pitch option with that wide receiver, we've got the corner for that wideout, right? We have that phase of it covered. So let's not even talk about him. Let's talk about the front, the back, this tight end, and the quarterback here. So this is going to be a counter GT play. We are going to have everybody, all these 4 are going to down block, right? So the first guy inside of you, you're blocking down, and your job is to shove him out of the way and push him as far to, what we're seeing as the right as you can, right? Just demolish him. So we see that from these 4. Then the guard and the tackle, GT, right? They're going to pull around. Now, typically on this play, the guard's job is to kick out the end man on the line of scrimmage. So he's going to kick out 97, and typically the tackle's going to lead up through the hole. And it's the old Lombardi, get a seal here, get a seal there, right? That we pin these guys inside, right? We down block them. We get this kick out block here. There's a seal inside, seal outside, and we run up through the hole that is created there. Now, on this play, again, I think we got lucky as the Browns. And I'll show you why in just a second. But first, I want to check out the option phase of this. So our seventh guy is Mack Wilson out here, and he is going to play the quarterback on the option, right? So I talked about the pitch option to the wideout is by the corner. The keep option, right? The quarterback keep option is our linebacker here, and Wilson is in a great place to make a play, right? If there's a clear give read for Lamar, because if Lamar keeps this, pulls the ball, Mack is out there in a position to make a tackle. Now, could Lamar shake him loose and get by him anyway? Sure. But again, that's execution. That is not scheme. That is not how we draw it up. Okay, so we have the backside of this play defended pretty well. Front side, I think we actually do a decent job of beating some blocks. So let's start with 93 here. It's a couple of years ago. Pretty much all these guys don't play for the Browns anymore. But we have a tough block for the center who's got to get a down block onto this kind of 4-eye or wide 3 technique here as defensive tackle. So he's got to get a long way to make this block, this down block, and he gets there with a full head of steam ready to knock 93 out, right? He's really trying to push him out of the way and get physical. 93 does a great job of just slipping right by that block and then pursuing down line of scrimmage. So that does not really count as blocked in the NFL, right? You got a piece of him, but barely. And so we're beating blocks, right? But again, if we're beating blocks, I want to make a TFL here. I don't want to have my 310, 320-pound, defensive tackle have to run 10 yards to make a play on a running back for a 5-yard gain. That's not what I want. I want this as a TFL if we're going to beat blocks that bad. So back behind that, Ravens do a pretty good job here. Blocking these players. On the safety, tight end's got the safety. That should be a physical win, right? That's probably a 260-pound tight end, 250 on like a 200-pound safety. Safety's got to win with quickness, right? And for JOK fans out there, this is how he's got to win as well in the box, slipping under guys, slipping around guys, being quick in a phone booth. Our safety does here. He gets kind of thrown backwards. I don't understand how that's not a hold, especially, when you get this little hands up move here, right? Like, oh, yep, didn't do anything. That's a pretty dead giveaway that he did something there. So I like the move here, obviously uncalled hold, but sometimes it doesn't go your way. Now, the key here is this defensive end, and the rule on defense typically that you're going to hear is block down, step down, right? So if this tight end blocks down on the guy inside of you, you then step down and kind of fill that hole. And if there's somebody coming to kick you out, which there almost always is, you have got to take that guy on and really blow up the play. So I think he does an okay job, right? He steps down, and because Lamar is such an outside run threat, you do worry about coming inside with a full head of steam here. That's scary, right? Because as soon as you lose leverage on Lamar and he gets outside of you, we're toast. But he steps down, does a pretty good job of taking on that block once he sees it coming and making this seam, right, as small as he can make it. Now, here's where I think the Ravens screw up, okay? And I don't know who this is on. I'm going to put this on the back just because of common sense. But, again, as I said, most of the times the counter GT, the guard does kick out. The tackle should go up through the hole. So that tackle maybe should be coming up through the hole. Now, if you're the running back and you're following a giant 320-pound man and he does not run where the coach told him to run, I think you still probably follow the 320-pound man, right? That's what your instinct should tell you to do. You should also see Joe Schobert right here, who is unblocked, right? I know you're reading this side of the play, but you got to feel this unblocked white shirt coming at you, and you got to know, I got to get behind this giant man because there's somebody coming to get me. So if I'm not running back, I'm bouncing this wide outside. And you can see if he does that, right, even if Schobert is pursuing the play over the top, this tackle is in a great place to block Schobert. And if we do that, it's a foot race between our 310-pound defensive tackle, right, who beat his block on the backside, who has to chase down our running back in space. And that is not a matchup we are going to win. So again, I think on this play, the Browns got lucky that Schobert was able to get there and make the block because the Ravens, if they execute, right, if they somehow, some way get this tackle up on 53, they have got everybody to this side of the field blocked. And if we remember, if we wind back to the all-22, there is absolutely no help out here because they took it away with this wide receiver motion. And so now if we get outside of 97 and Schobert comes over to the top and he gets blocked by that tackle pulling around, that is a touchdown, right? That is at least a 20-yard run, and we're praying that our safety can make a tackle in the open field against a running back with the full head of steam to save a touchdown and only let this be a big play down to our own 10-yard line. Right? That is not a spot you want your defense to be in. So schematically here, we are lacking the extra guy. And so where does that extra guy come from? It has to be the free safety. Well, let me walk that back. Most of the times, we're going to conceptualize it as being the free safety. If we have a guy back here playing no one in the middle of the field and they decide to run their guy, who usually is not a running threat, we can't have this guy, right? That has got to be our extra guy in the box. Now, from the all-22, you can see why that might be terrifying for most normal defensive coordinators. And that is because if you take this guy away, right, we are running pure man zero across the board where our cornerbacks have to stay glued to these wide receivers, tight ends, whoever they got out here for as long as it takes to take them away completely. And so as a defensive coordinator, right, you've got a quandary. If we leave this guy back here, right, as we saw in this play, if this tackle simply gets a block on Joe Schobert, they are off to the races and they're gone. If one guy screws up, if we don't, quote unquote, build that wall, right, and keep them hemmed up back here and somebody screws up, the Ravens are going to break this and they got a playmaker out in space. They're going to hit a huge play. If we do bring him up, right, and we play just man zero across the board and any one of our corners falls down, hits a bad patch of grass, right, and it's a passing play, then we give up a big play through the air. And that is what makes defending this Ravens team so terrifying, is that it's hard. You need extra bodies all over the place. You need 12 guys to defend them. All right, so here we're going to watch how the Titans get that extra guy without running crazy, terrifying coverages on the back end. If you remember, this is from a playoff game. The Titans were the Lamar killers, right? Like, they took him out of the playoffs, 2 years in a row? They've been one of a few teams that have been able to hold this Ravens running game in check, force Lamar to be a passer, and, quote unquote, expose Lamar Jackson. They're not exposing him. They're just defending him intelligently, right? And it's exactly what we should do as well. And the way that the Titans, are doing this against the Ravens is to run the same quarters coverage that I detailed in the last video where we looked at how the Browns screwed it up against the Chargers. Now, with the quarters coverage, I'll spare you all the details about, exactly how that quarters coverage is run, but we'll break down some generals here, okay? So you're going to have a front, right? When we have a front four, let's call them these four. Titans are running kind of more of a 3-4 look with outside linebackers. But one of these two guys is going to rush the passer, so you can count him as a front four. The other guy is going to be an underneath kind of zone matchup zone defender, right? So 4 on the passer, 3 underneath in kind of a matchup zone underneath, and then you've got the 4 people in the back, your 4 DBs, and that is where the quarters term comes from. So again, unlike Madden, where this is a soft zone and you're just playing a deep spot on the field and let everything get completed underneath you, this quarters coverage involves a lot of reads on behalf of the defensive backs, and it's actually pretty aggressive when you run it in this way. Now, for the Titans, we got a corner out here, we got safety here, and they're going to be working together again for their half of the field. And one of the benefits of these types of coverages is the quarter system. You call it split field coverages, right? Is that you can split the field down the middle and run one type of coverage or one technique up here and another down here. On the bottom side of the screen, we initially get a look with this giant fullback out in the slot and then a wide receiver out wide, right? And this is like the Ravens, I think it's like Picard or something. It's like their 300-pound, giant fullback. Look at that guy. And he's going to line up in the backfield. And it's, even here, we don't think this guy is really going to be a vertical threat down the seam. And especially when he goes in the backfield, we know we can cross him off the list of vertical threats. But if this were a pass, right, we're reading the number 2 receiver from the safety in the corner. But I just want to point that out because with this condensed formation, with 10 guys in the box, both of the Titan safeties can kind of rest assured that there's not going to be 2 vertical threats to their side. Can this wide receiver run deep and vertical? Absolutely, and that is going to be the corner's job. Can this tight end run deep and vertically? Absolutely, and that is also typically going to be this corner's job, right? So we can cross those guys off our list. As the safety, you're looking at the number 2 receiver, the next guy inside, who's both of them are fullbacks, right? So are we scared about them running vertical? No, we are not, and we are free to play the run pretty aggressively. So that's one of the things I love about this quarters coverage is that when it is a spread look, right? If you're playing a spread offense and they're lining up a shotgun with 4 wide receivers, you have more of a insight into your run pass reads, right? When it's more condensed like this, as the Ravens like to do, you're still providing help for your corner, right? Because in this instance, if it is a pass, if this safety or this safety get a pass read, right? If these linemen on the snap of the ball, if their helmets go up and back, which they do not, right? They go down and forward. If they go up and back on the snap of the ball, you are immediately looking to help this corner because you have no threat vertical by number 2. So this corner, right? We're in on this play. We're going to get 10 in the box. We're going to get the extra guy. Again, that's 2 extras. But we are also not going to strand our corner on a pure island in the event that it's pass. Again, if it's pass, this corner has to play a deep vertical route, and cornerbacks are used to doing that, man-to-man against wide receivers, right? That's what they're there to do. But if this is an inside breaking route, if it's a slant, if it's a shallow cross, this corner doesn't have to follow this receiver every single place he could go on a field. He has to be concerned with a very doable job. And so that's why quarters is good against the Ravens, is because we can get 2 extra bodies in the box, which again, we need to stop the run if they will run the quarterback. And it can also keep us sound against the passing game by not putting this corner on a pure island. All right, so at this point, we've seen kind of how this is not crazy, right? It's not stranding our corners and asking them to hold up in pure man all game. Let's move to the end zone angle, right? Because we're going to actually see a TFL here. So the Titans do a couple things that I think are intelligent on this play. Number one, they're going to stunt the heck out of this line, right? So this line has certain combinations called, and right now 77, 79 are going to kind of fan out. Almost like a pass set, right? And they're blocking this defensive end here. There's also an outside linebacker just off the screen to our left. And so they are basically got those 2 guys, right? They got this guy and the guy outside the screen to our left. On the inside, right, we're going to have a double team here, 65 and 73 on the nose. And I believe what their plan of attack is to double team the nose up to the linebacker. And then on this side, we're actually going to option this gentleman right here. So we're going to option that defensive end, invite him up the field. Lamar is going to read him. So nobody is going to block this guy. So we're going to have 78. Yeah, 78 is going to leak up to the second level, and he should be eyeing someone up here. I think they get it screwed up because I think it should be a safety. Not entirely sure about that, but these 2 guys have in some form this and this, right? That's who they should be blocking. And then we're going to option that guy there. Now, what does that leave us with, right? That leaves us with 1 inside linebacker left. Typically, it's going to be this guy here. And that leaves us with the corner on the edge. And so 81 is going to be able to go block that corner. And then 42 should take the other inside linebacker, right? And so if we did that all correctly, hopefully I've got that kind of drawn on the screen at this point. Who is left? It is 31, right? So they can option or block everybody up here, except they can't get this guy, and that is the extra guy, right? The second extra guy in the box. Now, with the way this plays out, again, the Titans do a really good job of stunting the front. So we're going to see this nose, first of all, stunt into the A gap and penetrate really hard there. So we're going to get the nose into the A gap. We get a crisscross by the linebackers behind him. And with all that kind of, it's almost like a braid, right? It's almost like a weaving action. With all that makes it really hard for these offensive linemen to kind of pass all those guys off and pick them up as they're moving and switching places, right? So that's one thing I think the Titans do really well in this play is they're going to have that 3-way switch. And that, I think, screws up the blocking scheme. Because here, we can see on that nose, we get 2 linemen double teaming that nose, and they never come off to get the linebacker. Right, so they let a linebacker run right by him. You could see that center turning his head back and being like, oh no, I missed him, right? And so I think he should be blocking him here. And with that stunt, that little twist inside, that's how you get free guys, through the attack. Again, I would love for this to be a bonus if and when we're able to do this and confuse the offense. When you confuse the offense, we shouldn't just stop them, kind of. We should really stop them. This should be a TFL when we get this kind of confusion, right? But we do see it here on this play. Then we see 51, because of all that crossing action in front of him, gets kind of lost in the shuffle, and 42 ends up not blocking anybody really and looking up to get that corner. Okay, and 78 and 86 also double teamed the same guy, and so something got screwed up, right? Between 1, 2, and 3, we're blocking 1, 2 players, and that is never what the offense counts on, right? So you've just flipped the arithmetic. 51 ends up being a free hitter here. But even if we block this perfectly, let's say 86 comes up to get the corner, right? 78 stays on this defense or this outside linebacker, and then 42 goes to get 51, the inside linebacker, right? Turns inside here and gets him. So we've got a block, a head on a head. We've got a helmet on a helmet. We got a helmet on a helmet. Again, we can't block this guy here. That is the extra guy. And we see as the play unfolds that if this play were not made in the backfield by 51, 31's right there. He's going to clean up the play. It's not going to be a big gain, and we don't have to rely on any luck. We don't have to rely on beating a block. We don't have to rely on anything other than simple arithmetic that we got one more guy than they got. All right, so one last play I wanted to run through here, and a different changeup. I think this is a great changeup to run, right? It's an old Greg Williams special. With the Titans, I think what they do is smart with quarters, because your safeties, right, who are usually better run players, are the ones making the run pass read, right? And they are the ones that you're counting on coming up into the box to stop the run if the Ravens indeed are running on this play. The corner gets to be the one in coverage, right? He's the guy that gets to play this off man and pick up this wide receiver one-on-one on the outside, right? And that's what corners are in the NFL to do, right? Is cover these great outside wide receivers and play a man-to-man. That's why you become an NFL corner. So structurally, this is a great way to take away the run, get the extra guy in the box, and let your corner play pass defense. All right, now, of course, if you are Greg Williams, you are not going to be a normal guy, right? You're going to be a crazy person. And he got let go in Cleveland kind of for being crazy. He got suspended by the NFL and the Saints for doing some things that weren't too good. And that's an understatement, right? That was pretty bad. Like paying players to injure other players. That's not cool. He also got released from the Jets, right, for running a cover zero blitz with the game on the line. But that's who Greg Williams is. He's willing to live on that edge. And so this was basically Greg's game plan for the entire game for the Browns. I don't think it's a great game plan for the entire game. I do think this is a nice way to get 2 extra guys in the box against the Ravens from time to time, right? And to get those extra human beings in the box a different way. So on this play, it looks like we have a single high safety, right? We got it, one safety, he's deep, right? You could easily see him rotating to the middle of the third of the field and playing that deep center field role, right? We could easily see that. But again, what happens when we waste that guy deep? The equivalent to that guy in the offense is the quarterback, and if they're willing to run the quarterback, well, then we don't have the numbers in the box to stop the run. So again, you see the Ravens here go with 10 in this box, right? And so we bring 9 in the box here, which again is not enough, right? It's enough if Lamar's not running, but when Lamar's running, it's not enough. So we actually bring the 10th guy into the box on this play from the cornerback position, right? So you don't have to always bring it as a safety, as the Titans did from that quarters coverage. You can bring it from the corner as well. And the way that Greg would do this was in the form of corner blitzes. So you're going to see 2 things on this play. First, when the Ravens motion, the Browns think the snap is about to come, you give a late shift. Okay, and we started off with our normal defensive line with a 1 technique or a 2-eye technique and a 3 technique. And then like a 6 and a 9, something like that. 6 and a 7. I can't quite, whatever. Normal defensive end alignments. We get a late shift, okay? And what that does is if these linemen had calls and they were supposed to be double teaming certain guys, Well, now you maybe change that, right? Now, maybe because this defensive end came inside, now we can't double him with the tight end anymore, and we got to switch up the way that we were going to block this, right? So you maybe screw with their blocking assignments inside, and you get some of what the Titans got by crisscrossing, which is to make them waste blockers, right? If they got one guy blocking nobody, now the arithmetic's back in your favor, right? So I think that's a great adjustment as well. Late shifts, doing odd things that they don't expect up front, screwing up their blocking schemes, tangling these guys up, right? That's a great thing to do. The other thing we see at the last second is the cornerback creeping inside, and that's because he's going to come off the edge in a blitz, right? So here, instead of the corner playing that off coverage, right, that off man, we got the safety kind of rotating down over the top to play catch man on 83 out here, right? And you leave your safety one-on-one with a wide receiver, which again, to any normal sane human being is probably scary, but to Greg Williams, it was not. And then you bring your corners off the edge, which again, corners not always known as the best run players, but you give them a full head of steam and a corner blitz off the edge, and you get that extra guy in the box, right? So again, you have to be willing to solo up your safety on a wide receiver, which is why I think this is crazy to do all game. But can you do it every once in a while, right? Can you do it once a series? Can you do it once every 2 series? Just to keep the Ravens on their toes and not let them know where you're bringing the extra help from. Sometimes even to disguise the extra help, right? Because what if Lamar's optioning our end out here and reading him, and he gets a keep read, and then we got a corner headed in at Lamar with a full head of steam, right? If that corner can get there quick enough, that's a big hit on the quarterback, and they don't like that, right? That's not Lamar's game. He slides really well. He gets out of bounds really well. That's one of the reasons I think he's been able to have the success as a runner in the NFL for so long, is because he just doesn't take big hits. He's very intelligent as a run player, and he's very shifty, right? He's very great at just juking a guy out of his shorts and avoiding that hit. All right, so that's it for me for this video, Browns fans. Hope this gives you some insight into defending Lamar Jackson in that running game, and why, just stop him from running or just stop the Ravens from running is a lot easier to say than it is to actually do, right? It's because you need the extra guy in the box. That's 2 extras. And I hope the Browns are able to do this creative ways. I hope that kind of early tinkering with quarters coverage and what Joe Woods picked up in San Francisco helps us in this game and in both games really against the Ravens, because I hope that we're willing to bring those extra bodies forward, whether it's from the cornerback position, whether it's from both the safeties, somehow getting extra guys into the box so that when our defense is able to make plays and beat blocks, that we actually get the benefit, right? That it becomes a 2-yard loss instead of a 4-yard gain. Because without the extra guy in the box, Lamar and company will beat you 4 yards at a time, at least down the field, and then they'll break that big one every so often and really make you pay. All right. Thanks for tuning in, Browns fans. Make sure to visit dogsbynature.com for all your including Browns news and analysis. I'm Rufio. Y'all been great. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next one.